Just as the camel shares its burdens with others in the caravan, the wise share their insights to lighten the load of ignorance.
Poetic, isn't it?
And you know what's even cooler?
What's that?
That quote, it was actually generated by the very model we're going to be talking about today.
Oh, wow.
Tulu 3.
Very cool.
Welcome to Talk Tensors, everyone, your go-to spot for all things machine learning.
That's right.
We break down the latest and greatest research papers,
The hottest stuff.
so you don't have to.
Exactly.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into a paper that's been making waves.
Big waves.
Tulu 3, a new family of open-source language models. And get this,
What?
the recipe for how they made it.
Tasty.
We're basically your academic chefs today,
Yeah.
guiding you through the ingredients and instructions
Like that analogy.
of this cutting-edge paper.
I like food analogies in general.
Right,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Well, they did create something pretty remarkable.
Okay, so big picture.
Big picture.
Tulu 3 aims to bridge the gap between open source and proprietary language models. So that's right.
Which is a pretty ambitious goal.
It is.
Think about it. What if all these powerful AI models weren't locked away in some tech giant's vault?
Yeah.
What if everyone had access to them to understand how they work and build on them?
Open source is the future.
That's the promise of open source AI, and it's a big part of what makes Tulu 3 so exciting.
Transparency, collaboration, it's all there.
Okay, so first things first, the name Tulu.
Yeah, it's kind of an unusual choice, isn't it? Not your typical AI acronym.
Definitely not. So what's the story there?
Well, Tulu actually comes from a hybrid camel.
A camel?
Yeah, a camel. And just like its namesake, the Tulu 3 model blends different techniques,
Ah, I see what they did there.
creating a powerful, you could say, hybrid approach to language modeling.
So the name itself is kind of a nod to this collaborative open source spirit.
Absolutely.
But this isn't just some cute branding exercise. These researchers are serious about creating a model that can handle a whole bunch of different tasks.
Oh, yeah, they want it to be versatile, powerful. Right, like what kinds of tasks are we talking about?
Well, they focused on things like knowledge retrieval, reasoning, coding, math.
Wow, that's quite a range.
It is.
The essentials, basically, for any AI that's actually going to be helpful.
The foundation.
Okay, but now let's get to the nitty-gritty,
Let's do it.
the training recipe, because that's what really makes this paper special.
It's like a chef revealing their secret sauce.
They break it down into 4 stages.
4 key ingredients, if you will.
And I think that's what makes it so fascinating. It's not just about the final product.
Right.
It's about understanding each step along the way.
The journey, not just the destination.
Okay, so first up, stage 1, data curation.
Ah, the foundation of any good AI model.
Exactly. You know what they say, garbage in, garbage out.
That's right.
So this data curation step must be pretty crucial.
Oh, absolutely.
What did they do here that's so special?
They went above and beyond. They didn't just rely on existing data sets.
What did they do?
They got creative.
Creative how?
They actually used these things called personas to generate synthetic data for very specific skills.
Wait, personas?
Yeah, like different roles or identities for the model to take on.
Okay, so they're basically role-playing with the model to create data.
You could say that.
Can you give me an example?
Sure, imagine they tell the model, you are a seasoned software engineer. And then they have it generate code samples and explanations based on that persona.
That's pretty clever.
It is. It helps to create data that's specifically geared towards improving the model's coding abilities.
So it's not just a matter of throwing any old data at the model.
Nope.
They're carefully crafting it to target very specific skills.
Precisely.
That's fascinating.
It is, isn't it?
But I imagine even with all this carefully curated data, training a model like this is still a ridiculously complex process.
Oh, absolutely. But that's what makes it so exciting.
So how do they actually do it?
Well, that brings us to stage 2. Supervised fine-tuning.
SFT.
SFT, exactly.
Yeah.
This is where they really start to refine the model's skills.
Based on all that curated data.
Exactly. It's like taking a student who has a broad understanding of a subject and then giving them specialized training in specific areas.
So honing those core capabilities we talked about earlier.
Precisely.
Making sure the model can perform well in all those different areas.
Yep.
But they didn't stop there, did they?
Oh, no. They went even further.
Tell me more.
To really understand the impact of different data types, they did something quite clever.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
They ran experiments where they removed specific data types from the training set,
Like what?
like safety data or chat data, to see how it affected the model's performance.
So they were basically isolating variables,
Exactly.
like a science experiment.
To see what really moved the needle.
Pretty ingenious, I have to say.
It is.
They're really trying to understand which ingredients are essential.
And which ones can be tweaked.
Okay, but now things get a little more complicated, right?
A little bit.
Stage 3, it's called preference tuning.
This is where it gets really interesting.
So what's preference tuning all about?
Well, it involves using a technique called direct preference optimization, or DPO.
DPO, that sounds pretty technical.
It is, but essentially it's about aligning the model's outputs with what humans actually prefer.
Okay, so imagine you're showing someone a bunch of paintings,
Right.
and they're ranking them based on their taste.
Exactly.
DPO is kind of like that.
It is.
It's training the model to produce outputs that are more appealing to humans.
More aligned with human preferences.
No, it's not just about being accurate. It's about having good taste.
You could say that.
But how do they actually figure out what humans prefer?
Well, that's the really clever part.
Okay, tell me.
They use another AI, in this case GPT-4, to act as a judge.
So GPT-4 is basically the art critic here.
Exactly.
Wow, they're using AI to train AI to be more human-like.
That's the beauty of it.
But wait, there's one more stage, right?
There is the grand finale.
Stage 4.
Stage 4, and it's called reinforcement learning with verifiable rewards, or RLVR.
RLVR. Okay, now that sounds even more complex.
It is a bit more advanced, but think of it this way.
How?
It's like giving the model a gold star only when it gets the answer objectively right.
So it's not just about preference anymore.
No.
It's about being demonstrably accurate,
Verifiably correct.
especially in areas like math and coding.
Those are the target areas.
So they're really holding the model to a high standard here.
They are. They want it to be the best it can be.
This 4-stage process is pretty incredible.
It is.
We've come a long way from the early days of language models, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. The evolution of post-training techniques is a fascinating story in itself.
It is, and I think to really appreciate how innovative Tulu 3 is,
Yeah.
we need to understand that history.
We need that context.
So let's rewind the tape a bit.
Let's do it.
Take a trip down memory lane, shall we?
Let's go.
What were some of the key milestones that paved the way for a model like Tulu 3?
Well, first we have to talk about pre-trained language models.
Pre-trained, right? Because you can't have post-training without the pre-training.
Exactly.
So what were those early models like?
Well, they were like learning the alphabet of language.
The basic building blocks
Exactly.
before you can start writing a novel.
Precisely.
I like that.
Yeah.
So what were some of the big breakthroughs in those early days?
Well, one of the key ones was the concept of word embeddings.
Word embeddings, huh?
Yeah.
What are those?
Basically, it's a way of representing words as vectors.
Vectors, like mathematical coordinates.
Exactly. And these vectors capture the meaning of the words and their relationships to other words.
So it's like giving each word a unique fingerprint
You could say that.
that the computer can recognize.
It allows the computer to understand the meaning of words, not just see them as a string of letters.
Pretty groundbreaking stuff.
It was, but even with word embeddings, those early models were still pretty limited.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So what was the next big leap forward?
What was it?
The arrival of transformer models.
Transformer. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And one in particular that really shook things up, BERT.
BERT. That rings a bell.
It stands for bidirectional encoder representations from transformers.
Quite a mouthful.
It is, but trust me, it was a big deal.
I remember BERT being all the buzz a few years ago, but why? What made it so revolutionary?
Context. It was all about context.
Context. How so?
Well, imagine you're reading a sentence,
Okay.
and the meaning of a word changes depending on the words around it.
Right, like the word bank can refer to a financial institution or the edge of a river.
Exactly. BERT could understand that context in a way previous models couldn't.
So it was starting to understand the nuances of language like we do as humans.
Exactly. And this led to huge improvements in things like question answering, text summarization.
Anything that required understanding the meaning behind the words.
Precisely.
So BERT really set the stage for the even more sophisticated language models we have today.
Like GPT-3, for example.
Right, so how do we get from BERT to these super smart models that can generate human-like text, write poetry, even code?
Well, that's where post-training comes in.
Post-training, right?
Pre-training was like giving the model a broad education.
The foundation.
Exactly. But post-training is where we fine-tune those skills.
We specialize them.
Exactly. We shape the model's behavior to align it with what we want it to do.
So it's like taking a brilliant student
Right.
and giving them specialized training to become a world-class surgeon
Or a renowned artist.
or a coding whiz.
Exactly.
And this is where techniques like instruction tuning, reinforcement learning, and of course DPO come into play.
All those fancy techniques we've been talking about.
It's amazing to think how far we've come in just a few short years.
It is.
And Tulu 3, with its 4-stage training recipe, it really incorporates all of these key developments, doesn't it?
It's a culmination of years of research, a testament to the power of open source collaboration.
And it's not just the training that's impressive.
What else?
They took evaluation very seriously, too.
They did.
They created a whole open source suite of tools to assess the model's performance across a range of tasks.
Because even the most brilliant model is only as good as its evaluation, right?
Absolutely. You got to put it to the test.
And they didn't shy away from the tough stuff either.
What do you mean?
They used benchmarks like truthful QA,
Truthful QA. That's a good one.
which is designed to test a model's ability to separate fact from fiction.
To avoid generating misleading or false information,
So they're really testing the model's critical thinking skills.
not just its ability to parrot back information.
Okay, so they've got the training down, they've got the evaluation covered.
What's next?
The big question is, how does it all come together?
Right. What do they actually achieve with Tulu 3?
That's what we're going to find out in the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned.
We'll explore how Tulu 3 stacks up against other models
The competitions.
and delve into the fascinating world of its capabilities. Get ready for some mind-blowing stuff.
See you soon.
Can't wait. Welcome back to Talk Tensors
Where we are deep diving into the world of Tulu 3.
and exploring its capabilities.
We left off talking about how the Tulu 3 team put this model to the test.
They wanted to see how it stacked up against the competition.
So how did it perform?
Well, to put it simply,
Give it to me straight.
they knocked it out of the park.
Impressive.
They created models of different sizes.
Okay.
8 billion parameters, 70 billion, and even a massive 405 billion parameter version.
405 billion parameters.
And it's a lot of parameters.
That's huge.
It is.
But it's not just about size, right?
It's about what the model can do.
What can it do?
Well, how did it fare on those benchmarks?
Right, those rigorous benchmarks they designed.
Tulu 3 consistently performed
Yeah.
on par with and often surpassed other state-of-the-art open source models.
They weren't just playing catch up.
No, they were pushing the boundaries.
Wow.
It excelled in tasks like question answering, code generation, and even creative writing.
So it's versatile.
It is, showing its versatility and power.
And what about that truthful QA benchmark?
Yes, the one that tests for factual accuracy.
Right, and the ability to avoid generating misleading information.
Well, Tulu 3 scored incredibly high on that.
So it's not just a clever wordsmith
No, it's a model you can actually trust.
to provide accurate information.
Exactly.
That's really important.
It is, and remember, this paper isn't just about showcasing a finished product.
Right, it's about providing a recipe
Exactly.
for others to build upon.
It's an invitation to the AI community
I like that.
to collaborate and push the boundaries.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, the paper also includes this section called Novel Notions.
Yes, a glimpse into the future.
It's like a peek behind the curtain of what's next for Tulu 3 and open source AI in general.
And there are some truly fascinating ideas in this section.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some of the novel notions that stood out to you?
One that really caught my eye was the idea of using Tulu 3 as a platform for exploring the nature of intelligence itself.
Wow, that's ambitious.
It is. They're not just building a tool, they're trying to understand what makes something intelligent.
Both artificial and human.
Exactly. By studying the model's behavior, its strengths and weaknesses, we can gain insights into the inner workings of intelligence.
It's like using AI as a mirror to reflect on our own cognitive processes.
I like that analogy.
It's a fascinating idea, but it also sounds incredibly challenging.
It is. But they believe that with open collaboration and rigorous experimentation,
Yeah.
we can make significant strides in this area.
And imagine the implications.
If we could truly understand how intelligence works.
It could revolutionize so many fields.
Education, psychology, even neuroscience.
Mind-blowing stuff.
It is.
Any other novel notions that sparked your imagination?
Another one that I found particularly intriguing was the idea of extending Tulu 3's capabilities beyond language.
Okay, so instead of just understanding text,
You could understand images, sounds, maybe even videos.
A multimodal understanding of the world?
Exactly.
That would be incredible.
It would open up so many possibilities.
From personalized learning experiences to advanced medical diagnostics. It's really exciting to think about the potential.
And they believe that with the right approach, these multimodal models could even surpass human capabilities in certain areas.
Wow, that's a bold statement,
It is.
but exciting.
And the beauty of open source is that anyone can contribute to this exploration
Right, it's a collective effort to push the boundaries of AI.
and unlock its full potential.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, they also touch upon the idea of creating personalized AI assistants.
Tailored to individual needs and preferences.
Imagine having an AI assistant that truly understands you
Your goals, your interests.
and can help you achieve them.
More effectively.
It would be like having a super intelligent sidekick.
Always there to offer support.
Insights.
And maybe even a little bit of humor.
And they envision these personalized AI assistants not just as passive tools,
But as active collaborators.
helping us to solve complex problems.
And make better decisions.
It sounds like a glimpse into a future where AI seamlessly integrates into our lives.
Augmenting our abilities, expanding our possibilities.
It does. And with projects like Tulu 3 leading the way.
That future seems closer than ever.
Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to something we touched upon earlier.
What's that?
The importance of open source AI.
Ah, yes, a crucial aspect.
What makes Tulu 3's commitment to open source so significant?
Well, for several reasons.
Like what?
First, it democratizes access to cutting-edge AI technology.
So instead of these models being locked away,
In corporate labs.
they're available for anyone to study, use, and build upon,
Exactly. It levels the playing field.
allowing researchers, startups, even individuals to contribute to the advancement of AI.
Fosters collaboration, accelerates innovation.
And second,
Open source promotes transparency and accountability.
right, when the code and data are publicly available,
Everyone can see how the model works.
identify potential biases.
Ensure it's being used responsibly.
So it's not just about making the technology accessible,
It's about making it trustworthy.
aligned with ethical principles. And that's crucial as AI becomes more integrated into our lives.
It is. And finally,
Finally,
open source empowers a global community
of developers and researchers,
to work together to solve some of the world's most pressing challenges.
whether it's developing new medical treatments,
Tackling climate change.
or simply making our lives easier and more fulfilling.
Open source AI has the potential to make a real difference.
It does,
And projects like Tulu 3 are leading the charge.
demonstrating the power of collaboration and the boundless possibilities of open source innovation.
Absolutely.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Exploring the intricate training process, the impressive results
And the exciting possibility.
that lie ahead for Tulu 3.
But before we conclude,
Yeah.
there's one more aspect we need to touch
And
on.
hands-on experience.
Exactly. All this theoretical discussion is fascinating.
It is.
But what's it actually like to interact with Tulu 3?
What can it do in the real world?
That's where the rubber meets the road.
In the final part of our deep dive,
We'll be putting Tulu 3 through its paces,
showcasing its capabilities.
giving you a taste of what it's like to interact with this powerful AI system.
Join us next time.
For the grand finale, where we'll move from theory to practice and explore the real-world applications of Tulu 3.
See you then.
Welcome back to Talk Tensors.
We're wrapping up our exploration of Tulu 3.
You know, we talked about that novel notions section,
Yes, the future possibilities.
where the researchers hinted at potential future directions.
Right.
There's this one idea.
Uh-huh.
I think it could really revolutionize AI.
Which one?
Multimodal learning.
Yes, multimodal learning.
Training models that can understand and integrate information.
From multiple sources.
Text, images, audio.
Sensory data, even.
It's like giving AI a more holistic view of the world.
Exactly. Instead of just processing one type of data
So they can take it all in.
and understand the connections between different modalities.
Exactly. Imagine a model that can not only read a recipe,
Okay.
but also watch a cooking video, listen to your instructions,
Okay.
and even adjust the oven temperature,
Based on sensory feedback.
creating a more seamless and intuitive interaction.
Between humans and AI.
Exactly.
That's the dream.
It's a fascinating concept,
It is.
and it has the potential to transform so many applications.
Absolutely. Think about medical diagnosis.
Okay.
A multimodal model could analyze patient records, medical images, even conversations with doctors.
To provide a more accurate diagnosis.
Exactly. Or in education.
Uh,
Imagine a learning platform that adapts to each student's individual learning style.
using a combination of text, visuals, interactive exercises.
to create a truly personalized learning experience.
So many possibilities.
Endless possibilities.
And the Tulu 3 team seems to think the foundation they've built
with their language model,
could be extended to incorporate these multimodal capabilities.
that's the idea.
But how would that even work?
Well, it's definitely a challenge.
I can imagine.
Training a language model is already incredibly complex. How do you train a model to understand such diverse types of data?
Yeah.
But there are promising approaches emerging.
Like a
One idea is to use a technique called joint embedding,
joint embedding, okay.
where you create a shared representation space
Yeah.
that can encode information from different modalities.
So instead of having separate models for text, images, and audio,
Right.
you have one model
That can process and understand all of these inputs.
in a unified way.
Exactly. This allows the model to learn relationships,
Connections between different types of data.
leading to a more holistic understanding.
But wouldn't that require massive amounts of data
It would be computationally intensive.
and computing power?
But remember, Tulu 3 has already demonstrated
Oh,
the
yeah.
ability to scale effectively.
That's true.
And with advancements in hardware and distributed computing,
Right.
these challenges are becoming increasingly surmountable.
And the open source aspect can't hurt either,
Absolutely.
with projects like Tulu 3 paving the way.
Researchers around the world can collaborate,
Pool their resources, accelerate progress.
and the potential benefits are enormous.
They are. Multimodal AI has the power to revolutionize industries,
Enhance our lives.
deepen our understanding of the world.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up our deep
Into
dive,
the world of Tulu 3.
I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Okay.
The future of AI.
Yeah.
It's not just about building bigger and more powerful models.
Great.
It's about expanding their capabilities,
Making them more versatile,
more intuitive
more human-like.
in their interactions with the world,
And with projects like Tulu 3 leading the way,
embracing open source collaboration.
pushing the boundaries.
That future is looking incredibly bright.
It is.
This is Talk Tensors, signing off.
Nice.